So Kamala Harris was recently on the 60-minute interview with Bill Whitaker, and boy, was it a complete shit show. It was a train wreck of the highest order. They had to edit out so many of her responses to the questions that she was asked because she did not properly answer the question. It is bad, and this is who the mainstream media, this is who the brain dead liberals are pushing down the American people's throats to vote for come November 5th. It was awful. Now again, also too, they are not releasing the full transcript of the 60-minute interview with Kamala Harris because she gave a whole bunch of word salads, a whole bunch of verbal fillers, and did not directly answer questions about her plan or her policy. Now, shout out to Bill Whitaker because he did push back a lot on Kamala Harris's response in a respectable way. That is what true journalism looks like. That is what true unbiased journalism looks like. Even though he works for a left pro-democratic propaganda network, he is one of the true last left journalists still standing in today's world of propaganda and manipulation. So let's take a look at one of this question that Bill Whitaker asked Kamala Harris regarding her economic plan with the child tax credit and other stuff, to how she wants to build 3 million new homes and give tax cuts to the middle class.
You want to expand the child tax credit.
Yes, I do.
You want to give tax breaks to first-time home buyers.
Yes.
And people starting small businesses.
Correct.
But it is estimated by the Nonpartisan Committee for Responsible Federal Budget that your economic plan would add $3 trillion to the federal deficit over the next decade. How are you going to pay for that?
Okay, so the other...
And watch how she answered this. He asked her specifically, how are you going to pay for all of this? You want to have all these economic plans that's going to cost a lot of money being spent, a lot of money being printed. How are you going to specifically pay for this, Kamala Harris? Now watch how she answered this question.
Economists that have reviewed my plan versus my opponent and determined that my economic plan would strengthen America's economy, his would weaken it.
But
my plan, Bill, if you don't mind, my plan is about saying...
Not to mention, nobody said that her economic plan would boost the economy. It literally was going to cost trillions of dollars, and where she's going to get the money to give these tax cuts. Not to mention, you have to get this through Congress. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to give everybody a tax break. You have to write a bill, then get the House of Representatives and the House of Senate to vote for it. That's how a bill becomes law, ladies and gentlemen. I just gave you a quick one-on-one lesson of how things operate in the federal government. She just can't come out and say, I want to give tax cuts. You have to draft a bill. It has to go to the Congress, and then you sign it into law. But the thing is, where is she going to get the money to pay for all of this?
That when you invest in small businesses, you invest in the middle class, and you strengthen America's economy. Small businesses are part of the backbone of America's economy.
But pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest...
Well, all the blinking. Well, one of the things I'm going to... That's a sign of nervousness. That's a sign of somebody who just got pushed back on their bullshit. Shout out to Bill Whitaker for pushing the agenda in a respectable way. That's what a true journalism does. You don't let her get away with a whole bunch of word salads and not answer the question and go back to her talking points. This is one of the reasons why the media has been hiding her. The Democratic Party has been hiding her from the media because she cannot handle tough questions. She's okay going on The View because they're not going to ask her any political questions. They're going to go around, chop it up like women do, but there's not going to be no political questions. She's okay with going on Stephen Colbert and having a beer with them because Stephen Colbert doesn't know shit about politics. He's not going to push back on any of her responses to the question. This is what journalism is about. How are you going to pay for Kamala Harris? We don't need all that word salad. We need all that verbal fillers. You ain't answer a question. How are you going to pay for all of your proposed tax cuts and all of your economic plans that you have proposed to the American people?
Among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes. It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations.
But why don't you give a tax break then to the middle class? Why don't you go into Congress, have Congress draft a law that gives tax breaks to the middle class? Because Donald Trump did it with the TC&J Act. And if you actually look at unbiased research from taxfoundation.org, the middle class got the biggest tax breaks out of all of them. From an average to 3 to 4%, their taxes went down. But if you listen to MSNBC, ABC, CNN, they're going to say Donald Trump gave the tax cuts to the richest. Yes, he did. But part of his stipulation for that was that they had to hire more people here. He thought that if they gave the tax cuts to the rich, to the companies, they would then expand and hire more people, thus giving the middle class more money, boosting the middle class financially, economically. But they did not do that. And Donald Trump said, hey, I thought that they were going to do that. I can't control what companies do when you loosen their tax burden. Because he said, again, this was the stipulation. If you give them a tax break, he wants them to hire more people. That's why his new economic plan, if you go sit down and watch the interview he did with Dave Ramsey, he said that, yes, he wants to give corporations, companies a 15% minimum tax, bring it down from, I think it's like 28% to 15%. But the condition is you have to produce on American soil.
I'm a small business guy. When you lower my taxes, it doesn't mean I put it in my pocket. It means I hire people.
Right.
Talk about lowering taxes in the first year of your administration.
Yeah, you probably saw my plan. What we're doing is there's sort of a two-phase. Number one, I took taxes from 39% to 21%. You know that better than anyone. It's the largest tax cuts in the history of our country. And that was great. That's why we became so successful.
It's funny. You think we can do that again?
Yeah, I think we can go lower. And I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm bringing it from 21 to 15, but you have to manufacture your product here. And then you pay 15%. And then I'm going to put tariffs on countries so they can't come in and steal our business.
And we do see federal revenues go up when the taxes go down because the economy goes.
If you do not want to produce on American soil, you don't get that tax break. Because we have so many of goods being built and made overseas. So, again, you have to, guys, do your research. Taxfoundation.org perfectly said it. Hey, the TC&J Act, look at the tax bracket. It gave the biggest cuts to the middle class. The reason why a lot of people paid more in taxes in the year of 2023 was because of all the inflation. Because people got to remember, the IRS adjusts your taxes to inflation. So since inflation was sky high under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, more people had to pay more money back to the government in taxes. Because of all the COVID stimulus checks that they passed and stuff like that, you had to pay more money back to the government. People got to understand, nothing the government gives you is free. There's no such thing as free money when it comes to Uncle Sam. It's a loan, and he will get that money back plus interest. All right?
And I plan on making that fair.
But we're dealing with the real world.
Yes.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
Thank you.
You know,
Thank
when
you.
you talk quietly...
Thank
with
you, Bill. Thank you. How the fuck are you going to get this to Congress? That's the point. How are you going to get this to Congress? What is going to be your negotiation tactic to make sure that you get what you want through Congress? But she don't got no answer. Let me hear what she got to say about this before I critique.
A lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about because their constituents know exactly what I'm talking about. Their constituents are those firefighters and teachers and nurses. Their constituents are middle-class, hardworking folks.
And Congress has shown no inclination to move in your direction.
Thank you.
I disagree with you. There are plenty.
No, he's actually 100% correct. Senate controls the Democratic House by one because she makes up the deciding factor of a 50-50 split. But the majority of the House of Representatives, which is controlled by the Republicans, have shown no inclination to side with her. Obviously, it depends. If more Democrats control the seat of the House of Representatives, then things might swing in her favor. But as of right now, even after the outcome of this election, the Republicans are still going to control majority of the House in the House, in the Senate. So therefore, what is going to be your negotiation tactic, Kamala Harris, to get through this through Congress? Even J.D. Vance said this on an interview, I think a couple months ago, regarding the child tax credit. He said, yes, we would like to boost it up to $5,000, but you obviously have to work with Congress to get to a feasible, reasonable number. There's going to be people who disagree with what you propose, but the thing is, how are you going to work with the Senate and the House to get this to Congress? The president does not have be-all, end-all power. There's a reason why we have a checks and balance system. All right. How are you going to get this through Congress, Kamala Harris? When she said, when you talk to people, you know, have the constituents, they're not siding with you. The Republicans damn sure ain't siding with you. Hell, even some Democrats damn sure aren't siding with her. And then she get, again, the same talking point. Well, we want to do my economic plan is a plan for the middle class, and I want to give tax cuts to the middle class. Then why don't you do it already? Under you and Joe Biden's administration, the middle class paid more in taxes. Under the Inflation Reduction Act, you guys hired 80,000 plus IRS workers who audited the middle class more than the rich. Because guess what? The rich, they have all the lawyers and the knowledge to say, okay, fine, they want to boost my taxes. They can find any loopholes, write-offs to significantly reduce their tax burden. If you want to make the rich pay more in taxes, you have to change the tax code law, not just say, I'm going to come out and raise taxes on the rich, because guess what? They're going to continue to write stuff off, continue to write off depreciation as a loss, which is lawful in the tax code. So what are you going to do besides give empty promises that you and Joe Biden have not fulfilled on? Nothing. It's word salad, verbal fillers, and questions not being answered by her because she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing.
Many of leaders in Congress who understand and know that the Trump tax cuts blew up our federal deficit. None of us, and certainly I cannot afford to be myopic in terms of how I think about strengthening America's economy.
But yet he just said that her economic plan will cause and add trillions of dollars to the deficit. But it always goes back to Trump. You ask her a specific question about her. She cannot answer a question without mentioning Donald Trump. That is what their whole campaign is running on. Attack on Donald Trump, and just continue to give the same regurgitated bullshit without no depth, without no analysis, without no proper articulation to their plan.
Let me tell you something. I am a devout public servant. You know that. I am also a capitalist.
Oh, God.
And I know the limitations of government.
Kamala Harris has been in government for...
Yeah, you know the limitations of government, but you're still a fucking dumbass bitch. Like, literally. She is, oh my Lord, this woman is beyond dumb. But this is who the people are pushing down your throats to vote for, because they simply do not like Trump. It's Trump derangement syndrome at its finest. But yeah, man, that was just a snip of it. I'm going to play another part of the video of exchange between Bill Whitaker and Kamala Harris, where 60 Minutes actually edited one of her responses to the questions regarding Israel and Netanyahu. So be on the lookout for that. What do you guys think about this video, about my commentary? Do you agree, disagree with it? Leave your comments down below. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.